Hello and welcome. Tonight, Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, says the NNPCL now owns a 7.2% stake in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and a 20% stake and as initially announced, and not a 20% stake as initially announced before the inauguration of the facility at the Lekki Free Trade Zone. A court of appeal sitting in the United Kingdom dismisses the appeal filed by the Process and Industrial Development PNID, halting the enforcement of its $11 billion award against Nigeria. The People's Democratic Party wins the local government elections conducted in Delta and Adamawa states. And global leaders condemned the attempted assassination on former US President Donald Trump on Saturday. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, says the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited now owns a 7.2% stake in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and not a 20% stake as initially announced before the inauguration of the facility at the Lekki Free Trade Zone. Alhaji Dangote, who was at a press briefing in Lagos today, said NNPC's stake dropped to 7.2% over the company's failure to pay the balance of their share, which was due in the month of June. He adds that the NNPC no longer owns a 20% stake in the Dangote Refinery as they were yet to pay their balance in June, but have yet to fulfill the obligations. Now, the NNPC confirmed the development in a statement explaining that the NNPC Limited periodically assesses its investment portfolio of its $11 billion award against Nigeria. In the unanimous decision, the lead judge, Lord Justice Snowden, permitted PNID to appeal the judgment but dismissed the appeal. In a copy of the judgment published on the UK judiciary website, one of the issues raised in the PNID appeal bordered on whether the lower court was wrong to order the £43 million legal cost to be paid in British pound sterling and not in naira. The company argued that Nigeria funded its legal services by exchanging naira from its consolidated revenue fund. The second issue is whether the judge was right to order PNID to pay Nigeria's costs in sterling. The Lord Justice Snowden, the lead judge, accepted the arguments of Nigeria that since the legal cost was paid in sterling, the cost order should be paid in the same currency. Part of the judgment reads, quote, "In my judgment, therefore, the judge was right to accept Nigeria's straightforward submission that because Nigeria had been invoiced and had incurred its liability to its solicitors in sterling and had paid those bills in sterling, the court ought to make its cost order in sterling." End of quote. And now to politics, where the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has won all the 21 local government council seats in the just concluded local government elections in the state. Announcing the results this evening at the Commission's headquarters in Yola, the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Mohammed Umar, says the ruling party won overwhelmingly in the 21 local government councils of Adamawa State. Meanwhile, candidates of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, have won all the 25 local government council elections conducted on Saturday, July the 13th. Now announcing the final results of the premises of the Delta State Independent Electoral Commission, the chairman of the commission, Dr. Jerry Agbeke, said one of the candidates of the PDP was returned unopposed. Now, PDP candidates contested against other parties and emerged winners in the 24 local government areas where the elections were conducted. However, there was no elections in Udu local government area as the chairmanship candidate of the PDP, Mr. Vincent Oyebode, returned unopposed. Now, the PDP councillorship candidates also contested and won 499 electoral wards in the state, while the Allied People's Movement, the APM, picked electoral ward 1 in Oshimini North local government area of Delta State. The All Progressives Congress, the APC, has called for unity and development in the Southeast as the party vows to collapse the region into one united political party. The call was made during the APC Southeast stakeholders meeting in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital.
The beauty of this program, first, is that the national leadership of the party have acknowledged that we are being marginalized. The second beauty is that they have taken it upon them now to demarginalize us. All they need is our support and cooperation. So on this note, I want to thank all of you for coming. We have met at the caucus level. We have listened to the state of the party in Abia. We have listened to the state of the party in Anambra. We have listened to the state of the party in Enugu. And in those three states, our intervention is needed.
Now we have seen in Imo State, it is the nucleus of liberation. Now Ebonyi State has followed another nucleus for the liberation. So ladies and gentlemen, now we have a task ahead of us. The issue of Anambra State, the issue of Abia State, the issue of Enugu State. FGC, this is a big challenge, but we are happy because we are determined in order to see that these three states are liberated. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to do that, we must be cohesive. We must unite. We must uphold internal democracy.
Now let's return to Adamawa State, where we told you that the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has won all the 21 local government council seats in the just concluded local government council elections in the state. Now, announcing the results this evening at the Commission's headquarters in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Mohammed Umar, says the ruling party won overwhelmingly in the 21 local government councils.
Out of the 19 registered political parties in Adamawa State, only 12 political parties participated in Saturday's election. The APC and the SDP are amongst the parties that did not take part in the polls. The APC even tried to stop the process through the courts. Meanwhile, the election was generally peaceful without any incidences. Some observers and voters expressed their views on the process.
I have confirmed the availability of sensitive election materials and the non-sensitive election materials. They are available, we have seen them. Very importantly are the electorates. They are available in queues.
Seeing the resources we are putting into this thing, the campaign, the posters, the consultations, mobilization, at the end of the day, I was only able to successfully register 2 councillors.
The Adamawa State local government election actually took place on the 13th of July 2024 as scheduled. And the election was very peaceful and very credible as well.
The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, also cast his vote in his native town of Gulak in Madagali local government area before returning to Yola, the state capital. Casting of votes ended at 3 p.m. yesterday, followed by the collation of the results from across the 21 local government councils. At the headquarters of the Adamawa State Independent Electoral Commission, the chairman of the commission, Mohammed Umar, announces the results from across the local government councils.
We have now come to the culmination of the exercise. The results were declared yesterday at the various local government councils. I wanted just to sum up what happened in the state and let you know which party won during the 13th July election. For the chairmanship election, the People's Democratic Party has won all the 21 seats as declared at the local government council yesterday. As for the councillorship, the 226 councillorship, PDP won 225 councillorship seats. NNPP won 1 in Demsa local government council.
With the polls over, the Adamawa State Independent Electoral Commission is expected to present certificate of return to the winners tomorrow at the headquarters of the commission in Yola.
The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has dissociated itself from an appeal filed at the Court of Appeal in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Now, the suit is purportedly challenging an order of the Rivers State government restraining the Chief Judge and the Clerk of the Rivers State Assembly from receiving or acting on any resolutions from certain individuals pending the determination of a case before it. Now, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Debo Olugunagba, issued the disclaimer in a statement in Abuja. Now, the statement notes that the party did not file the said appeal, neither did it authorize any external solicitor to file same on its behalf. The senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Adams Oshomole, says he tried to stop Governor Godwin Obaseki in the 2020 governorship election, even though he did well enough to deserve a second term in office. Mr. Oshomole maintained that the people misinterpreted his intentions during the 2020 governorship campaigns, as many assumed he wanted to seize control of governance in the state. The former Edo State governor made the remarks when addressing the All Progressives Congress APC party faithful in Benin City, the Edo State capital.
The opportunity now to employ either a good man or a bad man. So that power now had the day. Because when they reach, they go blow grammar and grammar and grammar. When I dey here, when we dey do airport road, I do grammar. When I dey here, I do that road to Upper Siloko, to Channel 55. We push street light, we put gutter, we do grammar. Last time I said, make una know the employer of Obaseki, make una know vote for her. People say, Oshomole want to control. When do I want control? I don't do my own don't finish. But I know people, they do good for my body. And therefore, I know for support person where we don't test them. You carry your pikin go class 1, you fail. You won't go class 2, I say don't support. But people preach, say, Oshomole this, Oshomole die, they go employ the man. Una don't take una korokoro, I see what happen. This road, I designed them before I left government. Obaseki don't agree to work. He go down to be part of his work. So Obaseki is the left, he go down is the right, all at the same hand. Children know.
In part 2 after the break, the Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum blames sabotage for the series of suicide bombings that left at least 30 people dead in Gwoza. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, says the NNPCL now owns a 7.2% stake in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and not a 20% stake as initially announced before the inauguration of the facility at the Lekki Free Trade Zone. A court of appeal sitting in the United Kingdom dismissed the appeal filed of Process and Industrial Development PNID holding the enforcement of its $11 billion award against Nigeria. The People's Democratic Party have won the local government elections conducted in Delta and Adamawa states. And global leaders condemned the attempted assassination on former US President Donald Trump on Saturday. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered former Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, and the Minister of Information to disclose the details of the agreement between the federal government and X, formerly known as Twitter, to assess whether the agreement complies with the exercise of Nigerians' human rights online. The judgment was delivered in May this year by Honorable Justice Nnamdi Dingba following a Freedom of Information suit brought by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. SERAP obtained the certified true copy of the judgment last Friday. In his judgment, Justice Dingba held that the former minister and the Minister of Information are directed and compelled to provide a copy of the agreement between the Nigerian government and X, formerly known as Twitter, to SERAP solely to ascertain its impact on the protection of fundamental human rights of Nigerians. Justice Dingba stated that disclosing the details of the agreement between the Nigerian government and X is in the public interest and does not affect X's business interest as a third party. It is also not prejudicial to Nigeria's sovereignty and national security. Justice Dingba also stated that the agreement between the Nigerian government and X must still be disclosed irrespective of the harm to X if it will be in the public interest to make sure disclosure. Nigerians have been urged to adhere strictly to building codes and ethics as well as engage professional builders on construction of buildings. The Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Zubaida Umar, made this call on her visit to St. Academy School, where over 200 students were trapped in the collapsed building, which left 22 people dead. The NEMA Director General observed that engaging professionals in buildings will save such disasters that led to the loss of lives at the secondary school.
The National Emergency Management Agency leadership paid an assessment evaluation visit to Jos, North Central Nigeria, where a two-story school building collapsed, in which over 200 students, including teachers, were trapped and were eventually rescued. Led by the Director General, the team visited the collapsed building, which has been demolished for on-the-spot assessment, where NEMA personnel, alongside other security agencies and volunteers, evacuated the trapped victims when the incident occurred. The Director General thereafter visited survivors who were receiving treatment at the Bingham University Teaching Hospital and proceeded to the government house to seek audience with the governor.
We want to turn it into a very proactive organization, and we will need the help of the states to be able to achieve that. I want to also use this opportunity to really commend you, because the SEMA here was truly up and doing, and sometimes we do not get that sort of cooperation from states. But because of how coordinated they were, it was much easier for NEMA to come in as second responders to assist in the evacuation.
The recent disaster in the state has prompted Plateau State government to take proactive steps to look into equipping the State Emergency Management Agency with the assistance of NEMA and other agencies.
This has taught us that we must not rest on our oars. We are therefore proceeding to make sure that SEMA becomes as active as it should be. We are also proceeding by God's grace to cascade emergency management down to our local governments.
The rate of collapsed buildings across the nation has become worrisome, with National Emergency Management Agency taking the lead in providing emergency services and intervention in such disaster.
As I always say, disaster is local. You need community resilience, you need involvement of each and every person. NEMA comes in where the SEMA is unable to meet up. And that is the whole purpose. And what we've seen on display today is the perfect synergy between NEMA and SEMA, and that was how we're able to limit the damage.
The Plateau State government has mandated concerned authorities to immediately embark on assessment and integrity tests of school buildings, as well as other buildings that are on waterways or access roads, as a means of curtailing further occurrence.
It is 2 weeks into the start of the second half of the year. Will this second half be similar to the first half, or will it be different? What should we as a people expect? Tonight, Babajide Ogusawo.
Future, and if it will be different from the past, and Nigeria's future, if it will be different from the present. So let's take a look at that indicator that gives us a clear view of, will our future be so different? Will the rest of this year, the second half of this year, be different from the first half of the year? And that's the answer in front of us. The most important thing for Nigeria when it comes to our business relationship and our trade relationship with the rest of the world, crude oil. And if we take a look at what has happened in the last 5 quarters, I'm talking about from the first quarter of last year to the first quarter of this year, we see about the same thing quarter on quarter. In simple terms, crude oil remains not just our #1 export, it still determines the life of the country. First quarter last year, crude oil accounted for 79% of total exports. Second quarter of last year, crude oil accounted for 80% of exports. Third quarter, crude oil accounted for 82% of exports, 81% of exports, currently now 81% of exports. In simple terms, what we're still doing as a nation is heavily relying on crude oil. And where does Nigeria sell its crude oil to? Number one continent, Europe. So if you want to understand what is going to happen for the second half of this year, two things you should focus on is what is happening to Nigeria's crude oil and what is happening to Europe. That answers that question. Now let's take a look at, will our future be different from the present? And the number one indicator to determine that is what exactly is going on in the agricultural sector. The reason why the agricultural sector is the number one indicator is because in that sector it employs the most Nigerians, and that sector significantly defines how much every Nigerian pays for food. If we take a look at what has happened since the beginning of this year, especially if we look at what has happened since last year about the growth and development in the agricultural sector, the simple term is it's bad news. What do I mean by it's bad news? Let's look at what the National Bureau of Statistics has defined as how much is the agricultural sector growing. And if we look at that, what you see is quarter on quarter, our best growth is still 2%. Sometimes we grow below 2%, sometimes we grow even below what it was the previous year. And so if we go by these trends, it simply means that H2, which is the second half of this year, which we've started when we come to agriculture, when it comes to even job creation, it looks more like gloom than boom, unless we significantly take this data and react and stay ahead of this trend.
So let's now look at the issue of job creation. Of course, we talk about the young people, how it is relatively difficult, to find jobs. And is it about to get easier, from what you've been saying so far, or is it, like you said, or should we expect more gloom as it is?
So what we need to do is just stick to the facts, stick to the statistics, and rigorously examine it. In simple terms, if you want to know an idea of what will happen to jobs in the second half of this year, is to first of all understand, are families spending more? Because if families spend more, businesses will produce more, they will hire more. So one way to measure or to get an insight into the opportunities that will happen with businesses is to first of all answer, are Nigerians, is the common man increasing his spending? And luckily, the National Bureau of Statistics also gives us that information. And if we just focus largely on what they've said regarding our families spending more, and we take a look at those statistics, then the answers about what will happen within the second half of this year will be clear. And if we take a look at that, our private family is spending more. The clear answer is no. The statistics shows that in the first quarter of 2022, private family spending relative to the size of the economy, 78%. In less than 2 years, family spending now accounts for just about 50% of the size of the economy, from 78%. Ayotunde, this is the first time we are seeing private household spending relative to the size of the economy as low as 50%. Never in our recent history have we seen families complain this much. These are the statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics. However, is there some good news? Yes. Let's take a look at some of the recent statements from the president. The president is still saying that he believes that the future clearly holds more opportunities than challenges. And clearly, we still need to have hope because, according to the president, there's a brighter future than the history of our past.
And speaking about looking at predicting whether it's going to be a brighter future or not, but of course the president said, how optimistic should Nigerians be about security? Very quickly, as we round up.
On security, there's some real good news. If you take a look at the perspective of security, especially looking at from when the service chiefs were appointed, what were their ratings compared to now, we see some good news if you look at those statistics. Last year, in the Northwest, 41% of those families said the security had improved. Those numbers are still the same this year. In the North Central, the numbers are still the same. We see improvements in the Northeast. southwest, and south-south, and south-south, and in the southeast, it's about the same. So clearly, with insecurity, there's really some good news, with 3 zones out of the 6 saying security has improved, and 3 other zones saying security is about the same. Again, just as the president has given hope, we are seeing some good messages coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, with respect to what is the outlook from the armed forces of Nigeria with reference to what Nigerians should expect on that. And if you take a look at that, we also will see that clearly, when we talk about economy, there's some reason to have hope. When we talk about security, there's a lot of reasons to have hope.
There's a lot of reasons to have hope. We'll leave it at that. Babajide Ogunsanwo, thank you so much for your thoughts on the News at 10.
The pleasure is all mine.
Still ahead on the News at 10, the global leaders condemned the attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump at a rally. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Nigeria is endowed with vast natural gas reserves, and leveraging these resources to power vehicles and the energy sector will greatly benefit the nation and its people. The managing director of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi, asserted this in an exclusive interview with Channels Television's Newsnight. He believes that utilizing the country's gas resources will ensure energy security, thereby enabling Nigerian businesses to thrive.
Our work as a people is to open up opportunities for our people. Our work as a country, the president has set a goal for us that by year 2030, we'll be a $1 trillion economy. We cannot do that without energy security. If you do not have energy security around, predictability around, okay, if I leave my home this morning, when I'm going to get to work, and when I'm going to leave work because, somebody has to go and buy diesel and queue for fuel, it's a time-wasting venture. And then you don't even know the price of the fuel you're going to buy, because the guy might get to the fuel queue, maybe the last guy to get fuel, and they say, well, fuel is finished, and he has to now go and buy black market. Why are we going through that in 2024 when we have gas on our feet? When we have people like you and I that have expertise in the sector that can enable investment into the sector.
The full interview with Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi, please watch Newsnight on Monday by 9 p.m. on all Channels Television's platforms. Officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have intercepted large quantities of hard narcotics such as cocaine and opioids like tramadol, morphine sulfate, all concealed in soles of shoes, clothes and other items being shipped to the United States and the United Kingdom, and of course Cyprus, totaling 250 grams. In the same vein, another 440 grams of loud, that's a synthetic strain of cannabis from Canada, to Lagos was also intercepted from logistics companies. Also, the NDLEA operatives in Edo State intercepted a vehicle at Ewu Junction. As one of the passengers, Aminu Abdullah's luggage was searched, where 3,000 pills of tramadol and 225 milligrams were buried in the custard powder containers. In another operation, operatives raided the Ohen forest in Edo and destroyed 5,429.7 kilograms of cannabis, which were recovered from 4 suspects, Godde Arie, Friday Okafo, Obinan Wosu, and Yusuf Adamu, and all 4 suspects were eventually arrested. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced the commencement of community-based sensitization in order to clean up the state. Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu made the comment at Lagos Island, where he urged residents to take ownership of the Enlightenment program in order to keep Lagos safe from diseases. He also marked the 2024 Lagos Tree Planting Day at the Lagos House, Marina.
Keeping Lagos State clean has become a major task for the government to prevent flooding and communicable diseases. Achieving cleanliness in the Lagos metropolis requires the full participation of people, which is why Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his deputy, Kadri Hamzat, and other state cabinet members are here at the campus mini stadium, Odunlami Street, Lagos Island, to educate citizens on the benefits of regular sanitation.
Undertaking the sanitation of our environment provides a ground for people to become hygienic for the safeguard of their health. It also increases the lifespan of our residents through the promotion of cleanliness in the environment they live in.
The governor says the exercise will commence next Saturday, and all residents must be involved in the cleanup initiative.
We're tired of needing to be identified as a state that is harboring cholera, that is harboring diseases that are related with unsavory environmental issues. I think it's a disgrace to all of us. And as a government, we will not tolerate, we will not accept it. We'll be demonstrating our willingness to start a weekly exercise that we believe very soon we would, on our own as a people, see the need for us to start a monthly environmental cleaning up.
In November 2016, the Lagos State government cancelled the monthly sanitation exercise. But now that a weekly cleanup will commence, community representatives welcome the exercise.
The environment is very dirty, and by this, I like the initiative of that the governor by bringing it back. So we will support him.
There should be some measures as punishment for the offenders. If there is no measure for the offenders, at least we may not achieve the success.
At Lagos House Marina, the state government also carried out the symbolic tree planting exercise to prevent climate change disaster and encourage others to plant a tree. A target of
I suppressed him when he was young and was going after those spirits. He would never have had the imagination to be as productive as he has been. And we must encourage our children to shun any injustice, anything that is not going to be fair to all.
His interest in hunting, culture and tradition, human rights and social justice, literature, among others, were projected by different groups in attendance.
Many students, many mentees. Yes. How many people have you been able to mentor in your life? So he's just a man of many parts. And that's why you see the whole of Egba, doing our own bit here.
Speaking on behalf of the family, one of his children and a former commissioner for health in the state, Olaokunshoyinka, expressed appreciation to the people of Egbaland, Nigeria and the global community for celebrating their father.
As a family, we are so honored. We knew this was going to be a very busy and exciting time, but really we could not have predicted how he has been celebrated across the world.
Professor Wole Soyinka, who became a Nobel laureate in 1986 as the first black man to win the Nobel Prize for Literature for his wide cultural perspective and poetic overtones, fashioning the drama of existence.
The president has reiterated his commitment to address the food shortage in the country. President Bola Tinubu was speaking during the launch of former Ogun State Governor Olusegun Osoba's book launch, My Life in the Public Eye, which is in commemoration of the elder statesman's 85th birthday. The president was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima on the occasion.
The Vice President Kashim Shettima leads a strong team of political leaders to this occasion, which is also being attended by media executives, including Chairman, Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo. Honor to whom it's due, as they say. The man who is being celebrated is none other than Olusegun Osoba, who is launching his second book, My Life in the Public Eye. The book is a follow-up to his memoir, Battle Lines, Adventures in Journalism and Politics, which he published to celebrate his 80th birthday in 2019.
Very fantastic pedigree. Read about him. Read him up and see what he's done.
While celebrating the veteran journalist and politician, President Bola Tinubu, who was ably represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, appreciates the elder statesman for his commitment to the nation's diversity and unity.
We must remember that unity and cooperation are essential. Our people must support our administration's efforts to create better living conditions for all. We are taking steps to address food shortages by temporarily removing tariffs on imported grains and other food items. We will continue to drive local production and ensure that we produce what we eat and use locally.
Speaking on behalf of the members of the 10th National Assembly, Senate President Godswill Akpabio applauds the elder statesman for his support to the 10th National Assembly.
My life in the public eye. We are honored, all of us, to stand alongside with you to witness the culmination of a journey that has served to shape the destiny of our great nation. Your thoughts over the years have helped to shape the destiny of this nation.
The chief host of the occasion, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, has nothing but adulation for the author.
Chief Olusegun Oshoba's contributions to development, stability, and progress of Nigeria and Ogun State are etched in our history and will continue to inspire us all.
The publisher of the book describes it as one which documents some of the author's historical reflections on issues of public interest since 2019.
My life in the public eye captures public perception of who Olusegun Oshoba is. The book succeeds in providing critical insights, not only to his person and his politics, but his craft as a journalist and a first-time author.
The one-time governor of Ogun State and veteran journalist is appreciative of the high regard and the respect that he commands here and leaves no one in doubt as to how grateful he is.
Once again, I thank all of you. God bless you. Those of you who are not 85, you live beyond 85. Those who are above 85, you live longer for me to watch. God bless you.
1-0.
Chief Oshoba started his career in journalism in 1964 with the Daily Times of Nigeria as a trainee reporter. He became the editor of the Daily Times of Nigeria. He was the chairman of the governing board of the Nigerian Institute of Journalism and member of the executive board of the International Press Institute representing Black Africa from 1984 to 1992. He was elected on 2 occasions as governor of Ogun State, first from January 1992 until November 1993 with the Social Democratic Party, SDP.
The National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, is assuring Nigerians that the federal government will continue to work towards providing adequate and effective security for all persons. Mr. Ribadu was speaking in Abuja, the nation's capital, shortly before handing over 2 journalists who were recently rescued from the hands of kidnappers in Kaduna State. The NSA says kidnapping and banditry will soon be confined to the nation's history books. Responding on behalf of the victims, the Kaduna State correspondent of the Nation newspapers, Mr. Abdul Ghaffar Alabuele, applauds the federal government for the timely response that led to their eventual rescue. The Supreme and Mammoths emerged as winners in the maiden edition of the LG K-pop Fiesta in music and dance contest held in universities across the country. At the grand finale in Lagos, which featured 18 groups performing Korean theme songs, the management of LG Electronics stated that the contest was aimed at promoting cultural integration between Nigeria and Korea.
It's the LG K-pop Fiesta music and dance contest among young people from various universities across the country. 18 finalists are set to showcase their talent and mastery of the Korean music scene. Fans, customers of LG Electronics, as well as K-pop enthusiasts are also present.
These preliminaries were organized in the federal government universities, that is University of Lagos, University of Abuja, University of Port Harcourt, and University of Ibadan.
K-pop has the power to bring people together, and we are proud to have played a role in showcasing the talent and passion of these amazing artists.
With the stage set, the finalists take turns to dance and sing with the hope of catching the eyes of the judges and panelists and win the grand prize of 3 million naira in the dance as well as the music categories. It's a no dull moment as the elimination is done down to the final three. In the end, Mamus wins the music category.
Thank you, LG. Kamsamida, LG.
And the Supreme emerges as the winner in the dance category.
Kamsamida, LG.
As far as the management of LG Electronics, organizers of the competition, is concerned, the outcome is overwhelming.
So I was very surprised today also, I didn't expect this much, high qualified and high level of the performance of singing and dancing, from the Nigerian customer.
The second and third placed winners were also awarded 2 million and 1 million naira prizes respectively in the K-pop event, which commenced in May with over 80 participants in the regional round in 4 major cities: Ibadan, Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt.
Welcome to Sports News. England's quest to end 58 years of pain and disappointment ended in failure yet again as they were beaten by the La Furia Roja of Spain in the Euro 2024 final played at the Berlin's Olympiastadion. Nico Williams opened scoring in the 47th minute for the Spanish side, while England substitute Cole Palmer equalized in thrilling fashion in the 73rd minute. However, Gareth Southgate's side were sunk by Mikel Oyarzábal's late winner to leave the Three Lions of England heartbroken again and unable to end the long wait for success in the men's team. The Olympic torch relay arrived to Paris on Bastille Day after almost 2 months of traveling through France and French overseas territories. A former France football international and the coach of the French's men Olympic squad, that's Thierry Henry, kicked off the relay in the French capital. The relay passed by some of Paris' most iconic landmarks. Global leaders have been condemning the attempted assassination on former U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday. The Republican presidential candidate was at a rally in Pennsylvania when shots were fired and he was injured in his right ear. The FBI named 20-year-old Thomas Crooks as the suspect. He has been killed.
Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has joined other world leaders to condemn the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on Saturday. President Tinubu's comments were made on social media. He described the attack as distasteful and said it goes beyond the pale of democratic norms, adding that violence has no place in democracy.
Take a look at what happened.
The former president was addressing a rally of supporters in Butler, Pennsylvania, when the shots rang out. Secret Service immediately covered the former president, bringing him to the ground before planning his escape. Trump was not shot, but a bullet grazed his right ear. He later posted on Truth Social, thanking the U.S. Secret Service and all law enforcement for their rapid response. Police later said the suspected shooter, identified as 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, was shot and killed by Secret Service. One eyewitness said he had seen a man with a rifle crawling on the roof before shots rang out and that he tried to warn police. Another said it was surreal.
So I heard the first shot, and as soon as I heard that first shot, I turned over and I looked at Trump, and then I heard 2 more. It was like bang, bang, bang. It was like 3 right in a row. I looked at Trump, and I saw him looking, and I saw him drop to the ground.
2 people were shot and are receiving treatment in hospital, but volunteer fire chief Corey Comperatore was killed after he dived on his family to protect them. President Joe Biden condemned the shooting and said he would speak to Trump.
The Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate.
Vice President Kamala Harris posted on social media condemning the senseless shooting, as did former U.S. President Barack Obama. More reactions on social media came from the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Both said the violence is unacceptable and sent Trump their best wishes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a video message condemning the shooting, which he described as an attempt to assassinate American democracy. Even Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly video message on Saturday that he was appalled by the attempt on Trump's life. He also wished the former president a speedy recovery. The news transcended the United States and was reported by major news networks around the world. As many Trump supporters come to terms with the attempted assassination, many rallied outside the Trump Tower in New York on Sunday in solidarity with their political leader.
And the main news again. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has said that the NNPCL now owns a 7.2% stake in the Dangote